That's better. Right, okay. So where to start? One of the questions I actually get quite asked quite a lot is what's the difference between different Android handsets? Um, so this task that Sony have sent me to sort of compare the Xperia S versus two of its competitors is actually really quite good because it gives me a really good opportunity to answer that question. Um, quite frankly, Android is Android regardless of which handset you're using. So if you can use an Xperia handset, you can move to an HTC handset or a Samsung or an LG or a Motorola, and I can guarantee you won't have much of an issue. There's very little difference in the way that the handsets operate. The menu layouts are very similar. The applications are pretty much the same. Where you find differences is like with Facebook, like the Xperia handsets have a better Facebook integration. HTC use FriendStream. Samsung have their social network hub. The little manufacturer tweaks, but in honesty, that's there again. They all work in a very similar way. They give you similar features. It's not that big a difference to most customers. One of the things that really is though is the camera. So I'm going to be comparing three handsets. Obviously the Xperia S, I'm going to use the One X, and I'm going to use a Samsung Galaxy Note. And I'm going to compare different camera shots from each of the handsets. So I'll go out, I will take the three phones with me. I'll take some sunset shots, I'll take some panoramic shots, I'll take some high zoom shots just to try and show the difference between the camera hardware, because that is one place where the handsets all differ, and the results I think will be probably quite interesting. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to quickly crack open a beer. Yeah, and I think for the customers that I speak to, it's probably one of the most important different features, and probably a bigger selling point than say a quad core processor, because for most people that really right now doesn't make much of a difference. Anyway, so yeah, I'll be back in a moment once I've been out to take some photographs and had the rest of the beer. See you in a bit. Hi guys, back. I forgot to mention earlier on, or forgot to explain why I'm using a Galaxy Note. It's pretty much because I don't have a Galaxy S2. I do own a Note as well as my Xperia S. But the S2 and the Note uses the camera is identical, and the interface is so similar. It really makes no difference which one I compare it against. So that's the only reason. And obviously the S2 is probably the biggest selling Android handset of 2011. And Samsung wouldn't even like contemplate giving me a Galaxy S3 to compare against. I did ask. Yeah, oh well. So yeah, S2 thinking it's probably one of the biggest selling Android handsets, so that's why I'm using that. Obviously, I've said I'm going to focus on the camera. It would be a little bit remiss of me to not have a look at anything else. So right, all handsets pretty similar in size. The Xperia S 4.3 inch display, the One X 4.7. Now handsets almost identical in size. One X slightly bigger, but it does have less of a bezel around the side of the screen, so you get more of the actual handset for display. Both pretty comfortable to hold in your hand. If I was comparing against the S2 almost again same sort of size, 4.27 inch screen. Again, pretty comfortable to hold in your hand. So not much of a difference there. Big surprise, you know. The S2, 1.2 dual core processor. The Note, coincidentally, is 1.4. The Xperia S, 1.5 dual core processor. The One X, yeah, it's got the quad core. Yeah, it's got that extra core for when the handset's not using all four, so it can run more efficiently, they say. That alone, although it sounds great, that alone to me makes me think they've put in the quad core as a sort of a trying to say to customers, wow, we have more, we've got more cores, we're better. Not necessarily, guys. Yes, 4 cores will usually be faster than 2, you would think. But there's a video, and I'll put the URL along here for you that you can have a look at, and it actually shows the difference of what the 4 cores make when you're looking at web browsing between the One X and the Xperia S, and frankly the Xperia S wins. I'm not going to bore you by showing it because someone's already done that work for me, so follow the link that I'm putting down, and yeah, you'll see that for yourself. So the quad cores, no difference. The Note and the S2 both have an 8 megapixel camera, as does the One X. The Xperia S has a 12 megapixel camera, but don't let that necessarily fool you either. It's not all about the megapixels. A lot of it is about the lens that's used, how much light is being absorbed in through that lens, the sensor behind the camera. You know, that's where the Xperia S is likely to win because it has XMR. The Note and the S2 don't have that sort of image sensor, whereas the One X has an improved sensor as well. So it's going to be probably the closest I would expect. Battery life on all 3 handsets, do you know what? A lot of people complain. I think if you're getting anything around about the 10-hour mark from your handset on a daily basis, you're fine. If you're getting less than that, yeah, you've maybe got an issue. You might want to have a look at what's around in the background. You know, there's different things you can try. But again, you're going to be charging the handset once a day, so hours I'm not really fussed about, frankly. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I don't really care. So I suppose I really should just get on with what I said I was going to do and crack on with the photos. So the first set of photos I'm going to show you are photos of the of a road just leading out of North Queensferry down towards the Firth of Forth. This was taken about 8 o'clock at night. Okay, so each photo will be labelled and I'll talk about them afterwards. Right, so truth be told, I'm not actually keen on any of those 3 photos. The Galaxy Note one has that red lens flare bang in the centre of the screen. The One X, while nice and bright and vibrant, and you can see the leaf colours very well, it doesn't give you the effect of how much the sun was filtering through the leaves. It doesn't capture that. It's just boom, colour. The Xperia S does capture that. However, whilst capturing that effect, it's darker and maybe a little bit more duller than the other 2 photographs. However, it does the effect that I stopped at that thinking, wow, that's a great effect of the light coming through the leaves. The Xperia S does the better job of capturing that, but could do with being brighter. Now, and honestly, I could have achieved that by upping the exposure value, but I left everything as standard because I wanted to just, get it done instead of playing around with settings how I would normally do when I take a photograph. But all on standard, all on automatic scene. Yeah, the note, too much lens flare. The 1X, it just goes too much on the color and the brightness and doesn't for me capture that effect. The S, while capturing the effect, a little bit too dull. Okay, so next up is going to be a series of 3 photos from each handset. You'll see them, and I'll talk about those afterwards as well. Okay. Okay, so with these 3 photos, again, the first thing you'll probably notice is, yeah, there's a lot of glare from the sun. I did that on purpose. I deliberately took a shot of the sun as it was low in the sky to see how well the camera would cope with that much light flooding into it. Personally, I think there's a hands down winner here. I think the Xperia S comes up trumps. The colouring in the photograph is far more natural and more true to what I could actually see while I was there. The 1X and the Note have produced very similar photographs, both quite rich and dark in their colour, but the lens glare is not just flare from the sun, it's not just very bright, it's also very, very red. And I don't like that. Some people do. Personally, I don't. I really don't like red lens flare. I, you're going to get glare from the sun, fine, but that redness, the little yellow spot that you can see in the middle of the red, just screams, whoa, too much, I can't handle this, and it spoils the image for me. So for me, out of those 3, the Xperia S comes up trumps, and guys, the reason for that is the Exmor R sensor. It takes in the light and it absorbs it. It's marketed very much as, it's great in low light conditions. It's also very, very good in extreme light conditions, in how it handles that light. And I think those 3 photos show that very, very clearly. The next set of photos I'm going to show you is the photos from the same viewpoint but more towards the bridge, and they're going to be very quickly replaced by screenshots on my laptop of when I've zoomed in on those pictures to see how much detail the pictures maintain and which one lets you zoom in furthest. So just using the Windows Gallery, I've zoomed into about 50% on all of those photos. Again, you'll see the results, and we'll have a talk about that in a second. So with these 3, my favourite photograph out of those 3 is actually the one from the Galaxy Note, the middle photograph. The reason for that, on this particular set of pictures, I prefer the vibrancy of the colour, especially on that bush that's coming into that sort of the bottom left to right hand side of the picture. The vibrancy of the colours in there, the blue in the sky, yeah, it doesn't help that. By the time I had taken photos on the 1X and the Xperia S, the clouds have sort of moved over a little bit and it makes it look a bit grayer. But even still, you can still see there's a massive vibrancy difference there, and that is, do you know what? I don't know what's caused the difference on the quality of that picture versus the one from the Galaxy Note, because I use exactly the same settings. Between the 1X and the S, both very similar pictures. I prefer the colour in the Xperia S. Again, mainly around about that bush again coming in. The colours seem to stand out more for me. Although both very, very similar pictures, so some people may disagree with that. Again, I think that it's the Note that wins out of those 2. But here's the comparison of how those photographs stand up when zoomed in on. Okay. So pretty clear to me from that one that although the Note has provided a more vibrant picture, the S has taken the better quality picture in that you can zoom into it further with a better definition. So I mean they're both at obviously roughly the same level of zoom, and the definition there is pretty clear that the S has held that more. There's more detail. Yes, it's pixelated. It's meant to be. I've zoomed it to a level that it's going to be, but the definition is still better on the Xperia S. So let's see how that stands up against the One X. Well, again, really clear difference to me there. The Xperia S again has absolutely trounced the One X on the definition held when again zoomed in to the same level. So, yep, the Galaxy Note maybe on the whole provided a picture better to look at, but quality of the picture when examined in more detail, the Xperia S has taken the better picture by far. So I'm getting towards the end of this now. I've got another sort of two sets of photos that I want to show you. One of them panoramic, but first, before I get to there, I just want to reiterate what I said about like the lens flare that you get. Kind of figured that maybe one set of photographs wasn't enough to really evidence that. So I've got another set taken from a different viewpoint, about maybe 20-25 minutes later from the first set. Again, I think the results are pretty obvious. So well, yeah, I'll be back in another sort of 20 seconds or so to talk through them. Well, didn't think it'd be quite as quick as that. The results then again think pretty obvious really. Horrendous amounts of lens glare in all three photos. I was pointing my camera at the sun. I'd be a fool not to expect that. But again, the Xperia S just seems to deal with that glare in a much better way. There is less of the glare. It's not as red. It's not as flared up. They don't have that little yellow spot in the middle of the red. That again, that just ruins the photo for me. Again, I know some people like that, but I really don't. So for me, again, the Xperia S has just come out trumped massively in a test that's designed to really push the camera to that edge of extreme lighting. I wasn't expecting a great photo from any of them, but the S really does come out on top there. So the final sets of photographs I'm going to show you are the panoramic photographs that I took. Now, unfortunately, it's going to be quite difficult to show you the interface of each of the panoramic ones, but I will try and see what I can get from this. So first of all, the Xperia S, change the scene mode to sweep panorama. Now, kind of difficult to make it out on that. I can see it's really quite bright there, but for the start, it's telling me along the bottom here, press the camera key, move the camera in the direction you're going to take it, which you can change here. So you can actually panoramic it right, left, down, or up. In the test, it doesn't really make a difference in the test that you're about to see. I went right to left. Okay, so that was pretty simple. You basically press the camera and go. Now, the Galaxy Note wasn't too difficult either. Into camera, settings down here, and trust me to lose it when I'm looking for it. Sorry, press wrong one, shooting mode, there we go. I've not been drinking that much, honestly. And there's a panorama option there. Now, with this one, again, press the camera key and move phone slowly in one direction. It's got a little timer, little sort of counter at the bottom, and it goes up every time you take the photo. Now, out of the three, this is the one that's got the best rotation. So, they obviously they cut you off after a certain amount of distance travelled or a certain amount of photos taken. The Galaxy Note let me take more and a wider angled panoramic out of the three of them. The 1X now, shut up. Sorry, back. The 1X now, it took me about 10 minutes to work this out, how this one actually worked, because your settings option is here. See, it's not very obvious. I only did this about an hour ago and I can't remember it. To be honest, because it's not on the settings. Kind of a stupid one. It's under the scene modes, which is set as an A. And quite frankly, you've got an A with a little sort of lightning bolt up here, which is that's obviously your flash. But this A, I didn't twig straight away. Maybe I'm just thick, but you know. And panorama. Now, what you do here, you've got this little line that you can hopefully see moving there. Try and level that out. And all it says is press the capture to start panorama. So, press the camera. Now, I can move it in any direction. I didn't tell that to stop, did I? So, try that again. Level it out. Press start. Can move it in any... Oh, please pan the camera more slowly. Didn't move. Move it in any direction. Now, what it does, it shows you this little box. What it doesn't do is make it very easy to position that box. So, did you hear that? It clicked there and then you get another box. You've basically got to line those boxes up, but it's not very easy on it to get them into the right position, and then it stitches those photographs together. The Xperia S has the better interface, I felt, but as you're about to see, the results slightly different to what I was expecting. So at first glance at those three photos, they're all pretty similar. The Xperia S looks a little bit darker in comparison to the likes of the Galaxy Note, but as I said earlier, the Galaxy Note gives you a wider panorama. So it's got light coming in from both sides there, which makes that bush, which is quite dark, look brighter in the photo from the Galaxy Note. That little bit alone makes a Galaxy Note panorama a bit more preferable to myself. But if the Xperia S was taken with more to the left hand side of that bush, then you'd have got a similar sort of effect. The image is just as good, it just appears darker because the panorama stops earlier. The 1X panorama looks pretty good as well, but you're about to see a fairly big flaw right about now. So just have a look at this. Right, okay, so that blurring in the 1X photograph, not acceptable. Just not acceptable. Now, that brings me down to a Galaxy Note versus an Xperia S shot. Now, the Xperia S shot I took in one attempt. The Galaxy Note, that's actually the second photograph I took. The reason for that will be shown now. So yeah, I mean, what? Some people might think, oh well, you can't be that good with a camera phone if you can't take a decent picture. I have owned a Galaxy Note for about 3 months now, and since that's the first time I've taken a panoramic shot on it, and I was just I couldn't believe it. To get the second shot, I did tweak the exposure value, just to try and get that brighter display. I also started the photograph from further round to the right. As you can see in the photo, I start from a darker point and work my way inwards so the camera adjusts with the light better. It's still a better photograph. End of. The result is better. So that kind of that's the end of the photographs that I wanted to go through, and I think really it shows that for the most part the Xperia S is by far the better camera phone out of those three. Now bear in mind the Galaxy Note again is using the same camera as the Galaxy S2, exactly the same. So you can take that as a comparison against the S2. The One X, the HTC are currently touting as one of the best camera phones on the market. It has some really nice features. You can take photographs while you're watching a video. It has the fast capture. You can take apparently 99 photos at 0.4 second intervals. I haven't actually seen that work myself yet when I've tried it. It just seems a little bit gimmicky. Don't get me wrong, it's still a really good phone and a really good camera, but the camera, which is where I am focusing right now, just doesn't live up to what I would expect, having used an Xperia Arc and now the Xperia S. The camera quality you get from a Sony handset is just far superior. And I think for the most part in the tests that I've done, that is shown. Yes, the Galaxy Note has come out trumps on a couple of photographs, but when you consider I had to tweak the settings to get that good a picture on the panoramic, that just makes you think, well, okay, what if you didn't know how to tweak those settings? What if you didn't know how to adjust the exposure value on your handset? It's not difficult to do, but what if you didn't know how to do it? And you're trying to take this panoramic shot at sunset, and it's all romantic and nice, and it's just all you get is a dark scene of nothingness. It's not really good enough. Boils down to what I said at the beginning. For me, the camera is one of the biggest differentiators between the different handsets. Again, Android is Android. It could be a Galaxy Y to a Galaxy S2, from an HTC Explorer all the way up to the One X, or from an Xperia Mini to the Xperia S. Android is Android. If you can use one, you can use them all. There are other areas I feel the Xperia S beats the competition. For example, the Galaxy S2 where obviously has NFC capability depending on the model of handset you bought. But what are they allowing you to do with that right now? Whereas Sony have given you the Xperia Smart Tags, and they are coming in box with 2 UK manufacturers, or available to buy. I think it's about £10 for 4 tags. They're at least giving you functionality right now. They are giving you the HDMI capabilities in the box. You don't have to go and buy extra accessories to go and do it. The HDMI function of plugging your phone into a telly and using your phone as the remote for that, the launcher that it gives you, those little features that I said earlier on, with some things don't make a difference, on other things make a very big difference. The little things. Giving you a customer screen protector in the box, come on, it's just handy. It saves the customer £7 or £8. They're going to like you better for it. Doesn't necessarily make it a better phone, but hey, with the features that you can get from it, when they're all so similar, that little thing makes it better. I'm getting to the point where I could rabbit on for ages, and I've gone on for about half an hour now, so I really want to go and get another pint. Boils down to Android is Android. The differentiator for me is camera, and pretty much hands down the Xperia S wins on that competition. And for that, that's the phone I'm going to use. Good night, folks.